There's like this inability to accept the world is made up with a group of different people who have different ideas. And you don't change people by shouting them. And we're not going to get everybody into the same little pot with the same set of ideas. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what do we do? How do we bridge that? And we bridge that maybe with Bitcoin in that, okay, Bitcoin can help you with this and you with this, and maybe it's going to stop us all fighting. Maybe it's going to reduce the power of media, which influences us to fight each other. Maybe it's going to reduce the power of the state, so the state has less influence over us. Maybe it's going to make sure that everybody, like maybe in Canada, it would have meant the truckers could protest and it would have stopped the people who are living in Ottawa who are against this. Like, and I know it's true. And the reason I know it's true because of the emails. And like Danny sees them.
Yeah.
I get hundreds of emails of people listening to the show. And I get like, it's a range of things, but I get a lot of people on the left saying, thank you for making that show. Thank you for having this guest. Thank you for discussing this idea. I'm not going to talk about it on Twitter because I don't want to get shouted at. So I know it exists. So we should be having these conversations,
and
not just going.
No one's ideology is like internally consistent.
No.
Like that's the thing. It's like people expect giant groups of people to all share the same beliefs when like 99.99% of people don't even have internally consistent beliefs. And I'm not saying that, like, myself included. So to hold like an entire swath of people to a particular set of ideas, it's just very, very difficult. It gets back to what I was saying about the cleanest path to getting someone to being pro Bitcoin is to minimize the amount of bullshit extra things that they need to agree with. Internet money is good, like, period. Okay, what should internet money look like? Well, it probably shouldn't be run by the government. Okay. It probably shouldn't be run by fucking Facebook. Okay. It probably shouldn't be run in a proof of stake system that just replicates all of the nonsense of so like you convince someone that internet money is good, and then you're just like, okay, what should it look like? Go through all of the options. Oh wait, yeah, it looks like proof of work in Bitcoin is probably the best answer. Like,
and he can make
it doesn't need to have anything to do with really anything else. Like, you know, CBDCs are bad. Internet money is good. And as far as I can tell, the best form of internet money that exists is Bitcoin, and it's likely going to stay that way.
And it
almost
works.
Certainly.
And it works now, and you can use it now.
Yeah.
And it can improve the world now. It doesn't require a massive shift in the world. I mean, if Bitcoin shifts people, which we've talked about plenty of times, like plenty of people say Bitcoin has changed me.
Yeah.
Not just financially, it's changed the way I see the world, it's changed the way I think about the world, it's changed the way I think about myself. If it can do that at an individual level, if enough people adopt it, then it can start to make those more macro shifts in how society coordinates and, you know, how governments coordinate. So it can work now, but trying to create this like tiny little ideology that has to fit, I just think is flawed. And, you know, I can't make a show that does that. It just is. Yeah. I think it's intellectually dishonest, and it is appealing to that small group of people that you're worried about are going to try and cancel you.
Yeah. And I mean, the flip side of that, though, is that there's like value in community, right? Yep. And if you want a community of like, just for example, like the sort of carnivore, toxic Bitcoin maximalist, you know, that agrees with like the same sort of, you know, seed oil, sunscreen, all like, that's awesome. Right? Like, it's very, very cool and enjoyable to find people that you share ideas with. Cause like I said earlier, it's, you know, you don't usually agree. I think that's why Bitcoiners all like to go to meetups and conferences and hang out, because you're around people who understand you. So I feel like it's important to clarify, like, there's nothing wrong with building community that is tangential to Bitcoin. I think where I personally get frustrated is when people take random shit that has nothing to do with the protocol and say, this is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, no, Bitcoin doesn't give a flying fuck what you think about sunscreen or meat or any of those things.
You're not a Bitcoiner.
Yeah. It's like,
fuck that.
The no true Scotsman thing is just so on display here. But again, the caveat is like, community is good and people deserve to be able to, and should not be criticized for carving out community where everyone's on the same page about Bitcoin plus 8 other things. It can't happen the other way around. It has to be like Bitcoin first, and then there's these like derivative communities. What you don't want to happen is like the sort of inverse of that, where it's like you have to believe that internet money is good. You have to believe that Bitcoin is the best form of internet money, and you need to believe a bajillion other things. Like, that's
Or you're not one of it.
Or
Or
you're
you're not a Bitcoiner.
yeah, that's like not the world I want to live in.
It's one of the things I hate most is when somebody says you're not a Bitcoiner. So, well, what defines a Bitcoiner?
Yeah,
One, there is no universal definition of a Bitcoiner, and any one that is created is subjective because it was created by a person.
yeah, I just wholly like I was talking about that Hal Finney quote earlier, right? This is like in 1990. This was like 15 years before Bitcoin, 10 years before Bitcoin, and Hal Finney was like, "Look, the notion that we can recede into technology and ignore sort of everything that happens on the social layer is absurd." Like he said, we have to win political victories to win our privacy. And I don't think he meant like elections, like you have to get the right politicians in office. But there is this like layer of, if Bitcoin is a bulwark against oppression, if Bitcoin is a bulwark against tyranny, will Bitcoin have been successful if only a handful of very technically literate people are able to use it or are using it?